Hi, hope you're doing well. As you've seen the video title, probably says something like fixing my life or something like that, getting back my life together, I'm assuming. So, what is this about? I want to give some history first about me, who I am, what I do, and then from there, what I'm planning to do, right? And if something happened in between, maybe that. So, let's say the important part in my life starts at grade 10th, right? So, this is grade 10th. Um, Around this time I was really fascinated by video games, right? I used to play a lot of video games. For me, video games have been a form of escapism, right? So basically video games, they have been a part of my life from much earlier on. Like I used to play video games when I was really young on my neighbor's PC, my relative's PC. But around this time I got really fascinated by more complicated video games, right? At this Before this, to me video games were more or less about just um escapism, right? It's just a virtual world where you go and you can do things that you can't do. You can kill people, you can earn money, you can drive over other people, whatever, right? But at this point I remember Watch Dogs being one of the games that I saw and I was like, that looks sick, and I think this was the first time when I was like, I want to make something like that. I want to make this but better, right? And this has been something that I get motivated by very easily. I want to do this but better. So I don't want Watch Dogs on my timeline actually. So I'll remove that. But in all seriousness, um, in all seriousness, it was one of the games, and Ubisoft in general has been one of the companies that uh, really like was there in my childhood as one of the um as one of the companies that of whose games I used to play, right? I am a fan of stealth games. So in 10th I decided that okay, I want to go this route. I want to be a video game designer. So what do? I just apply for Ubisoft creative game designer, creative game director position, right? As you might expect, I didn't get a reply. Creative director, right? But I have been always a person who thinks that I can do good at anything if I want to, or if I try enough, right? That is one thing that also comes with video gaming. Like you're always competitive, right? You always want to be better. You also always want to improve. So around this time, I start studying for about video games, right? My method of studying involved two things mainly. One is Wikipedia. So just going from one Wikipedia article to the other, and the other was YouTube. Now on YouTube, I actually did not, what I did not do was go through video essays after video essays or tutorials and stuff on how to make video games. This is what I didn't do, right? And I'll also explain, this is something that I've actually never liked doing. Let me just delete this. This is something I've never liked doing study wise, which I'll also come back to. What I did do was see a lot of video games, a lot of videos where they talked about video games, where they just talked about different video games. I'll give you some examples. So there's Game Ranks, and my favorite, I still follow them to this day, Outside Xbox. These are Outside Xbox and Outside Xbox Extra. And there are many others which I stopped following at some point. But basically, these would be people who would talk about games in a more light-hearted manner, not really analyzing them, but just either gaming news or gaming culture, stuff like that, right? Because in India, gaming culture isn't that strong. So I had to build that intuition of what a video game is, how one video game is different from the other, why people play certain video games, right? And with Wikipedia, what I started doing essentially was spending a lot of time just reading through things and understanding terminology and genres of games and history of games, different companies, their origins, their connections with each other, right? So these two basically increase my knowledge of video games in general, right? And with YouTube, I also would see a lot of gameplay videos, which build my intuition on what a video game is, what video games are, how they're different from each other, but also it's raw research, right? And this is when I go back to my point about education, which is I think the way books are written, right? And this I would say applies to everything, like from self-help books to books about engineering and stuff like that. The way books are written are very different. For example, let's think about how Newton, let's say, right? Newton, a prominent figure in science. What we do today, right, is just teach what he did blankly. Like we basically take what he discovered and show it to students and say memorize this or just understand this, right? But how did he do it? These people did not go through books line by line, right? Of course they did at some point, but a lot of their understanding and knowledge came from just experimenting a lot and playing with equations and playing with these things. It did not come from just reading a lot, right? This builds your knowledge. It catches you up to what humanity has done, but it can't push you further. To push further, you have to be the spearhead. That's my belief, at least, that yes, this will help you in covering up with what you have missed so far, but it cannot help you go any further. So this is why I think studying the source material itself is always better than reading someone else's theory, right? In Disney, for example, Walt Disney, I think, I'm not sure if it was him or someone else, but basically there are 12 principles of animation, right? And these principles include things like squash and stretch and exaggeration, whatever, right? These are basically principles of animation. But my point is that the people who build this, right, even if they're telling it that you should study this, they weren't the ones who studied this to study animation. They drew this from their experience, but they did not learn this to animate, right? They learned through nature. And I think this is how everyone should go. People should first learn from nature, learn from the source material, and then start to categorize it and formalize things, right? Okay, anyways, so from 10th till 12th, basically this is what I did, right? I was studying on my own. My background is in bio and maths, which is a little bit uncommon, at least in India. And there's a funny story about this, that when I was in 11th grade, where you pick your subject, I was standing in the room where our teacher was asking us to fill the form, and I had the choice between biology and Hindi. Oh, sorry, was it Hindi? It's computer science. So I had the choice between biology and computer science, and I already knew computer very well, but it would be something official, and biology would be, if I wanted to do doctorate at some point, that would be helpful for that. So what I did was I just tossed a coin, and biology came up, so I did that. Again, just showing like I have been very confident in my ability to do something, right? Not saying that as like I can do everything, but I've been confident that I can do everything. Those are two different things, right? Anyways, so till 12th, I basically did this, right? After 12th, I took a 1-year break. In this year-long break, I did 3 things mainly. I bought a gaming laptop and I played a lot of games, right? It did include a lot of variety of games, but it also included like just, I'm going to call these fast food games like Call of Duty or whatever. The actual game that I played was Black Squad, and later Valorant. So these two would be the games that I am going to call are fast food games, where you play them. They are not very healthy, they're not much of substance, but they are fun and they're really tasty, right? So that's my overall point. Also, talking about getting my life back together, right? Am I already starting? Sort of, but I'm already 1 day late, because this video I was supposed to record, I wanted to record like yesterday, and it has taken me 1 day to even just get to this, right? All I have to do is sit on my computer, which is already turned on, and just start recording, but I couldn't even do that. So it's not like I'm doing good or anything, right? I am also someone who struggles a lot from getting from one point to the other, right? And as I'll get to later, I have a lot of other struggles as well, and I want to like lay them out here. not just for someone to listen to, but also for me to just concretize it once. And once that is out there, I want to focus on what's next, right? But I want to say that for me, feels like life is a mess, even though a lot of things are going good in my way, which I'll mention, right? So in this 1 year break, one thing is I played Valorant and these games a lot, but also played a lot of productive games, I would say, like in terms of learning what video games are, right? The other thing I did was I did a course from XAMK, right? Unfortunately, you can find my very bad photo in the website to this date, but XMK is a school in Finland who ran this course called Introduction to Video Game Creation. This, right? And you can join this course. This is a free online course which is credited. You can use the credits for your college as well if it's if they accept it. But it's a fully credited course. It's a year-long course, but you can basically do it at your own pace because it's a module-based course. You can see the modules and do them at your own pace, right? In whichever order you want. So I did this course. I would say it's a very good course for anyone who hasn't made their first game yet, right? I would say that the best thing that this course does is give you a motivation to do something, right? And give you a clear direction to do something. After this, I spent 6 months making my own game. This is the only finished game that I have. It's called Jailbreak. It's in my itch.io. I'll link that. It's linked in somewhere in my YouTube channel, so you can find it. I'm not saying I'll link that because I'll forget it probably, or I'll be too lazy to link it. But you can check the description, I guess. Okay. So other than that, right? So this happened. Last thing that I did was around the end of the year, I applied for a design exam and got into a college. Pretty good college, pretty prestigious college. And this started my college life. Also started COVID, which means that from this till this, I was at home. And this was pretty depressing because, you know, you lose your first 2 years of college living in, and it's a design college. A lot of things that we do are handcrafted things or hands-on things, right? We have studios here like wood cutting, woodwork, metal studios. We have a thermocol studio as well, clay, pottery, bamboo studio, animation studio, sound design, filming studio. So we have a lot of different studios, right? And none of these we had access to in the first 2 years, where you're supposed to try out these things, and in the next 2 years you concretize, you figure out what you want to do, and you settle on something, right? So that was pretty sad that we didn't get to do this, but we did whatever we could online, right? And the next 2 years, a lot of people did settle into something. Most people went into UI UX as the most money making sort of career wise safe option. I don't know how there are so many UI UX jobs. I'm still baffled by that because surely we don't need that many people in UI UX, but okay, whatever. So that many people, most people went to that. A small chunk of people went to animation, and I just bounced around a different number of things. I actually joined the college specifically because they were the only one of the few colleges which had a game design course, and in the 4 years I was there, that course didn't run for some reason. But anyways, so in these 4 years, in the later 2 years, as I said, I did a bunch of product design, UI UX as well, and basically tried out different things, right? But at the end of the college, I was very certain that what I want to do is game design, and I need to do it alone. Like I don't like, I think colleges give you a good environment to work, right? They give you a good environment to learn, but they are not going to directly give me what I need to learn, right? So my thing was that I'm not going to go to do a master's. This was my bachelor's, right? Bachelor's in design. I'm not going to do a master's unless I get it in a foreign country, and I'm going to work on my own game, right? So this is around the end of my bachelor's, and this was a pretty depressing time for me as well because I had a fall off with a friend And this is a recurring theme, by the way. This also happened before 10th, which I didn't mention. Then this happens here, right? I had a fallout with a friend. I start my Reddit and YouTube channel around this time to cope with this. And I find a bunch of friends online on Reddit, one of who is one of my closest friends as well, right? Um, Now I leave college here, right? So let's say I leave college here, and there is a 3 month gap here. In these 3 months, what I'm doing is working on a project. This is I had a name for it, but I don't know what to call it now. Let's just call this a big project, right? So this is a big project that I'm working on. So 3 months, and these 3 months mostly I just spend on research, right? After this 3 month, I get a job offer from my own college. So me and my college best friend, we go back to our college. So here, after this 3 months, right, we start working on our college again as sort of teaching assistants, right? During this time, I meet few more people, right? One of who becomes a really close friend of mine. Then I have a fallout. So yes, I do have a fallout with this friend as well. But before that, I actually work on 2 different games and a bunch of animation as well, right? So I work on 2 different games. I work on a bunch of animation here, and I have another fallout with this friend. And this is something that affected me for a much longer, much worse amount of time. I think because with age, right? Like this was, I would say, much less mature friendship. It was still a deep friendship, don't get me wrong, but this was a much more mature friendship, right? So the fall off felt much more harsh to deal with. But anyways, so after that, so we'll continue here. So after that, right? This is the current timeline. I have been not been able to get myself to work on anything, and there are a few factors. Of course, this is like one of the big factors, right? This is part of the reason why I started medication and everything. But after this, there is also a bunch of things, more logistically, that are difficult. So I'll tell you. So this was all of my how do I save this? Save colors. Save. It just saves the PNG. Okay, I don't need to save this, I guess. So after this, I want to tell about the projects that I've done. Right. So as I said, in XAMK, right, the projects that I did were very small, like games. Right. I don't have actually most of them. I lost some of the files in some of the PC errors that I had, but these were like text adventures. One of them was a snake game, the Nokia snake game, right? A 3D like application, that's it. Like it just shows a 3D model, that's it. So these are very basic, and they essentially don't have a proper like they're not, games that I want to make. They are just games that you make to learn how to make games, right? So these are just the building steps. So these basically don't count. Then after XMK, 6 months, right? This took 6 months, and this is called Jailbreak. So Jailbreak is my first and only so far finished game. It's still not fully finished, but I'm satisfied with its state, right? It's a platformer game. You can still play it. It's on itch.io, as I said, right? It's both for PC and so it's for Windows and Android. Is it for web? I actually don't remember. I actually can, I think, put it on web. I can actually look it up right now. Wait, let me see. Oh, you can. Okay. Yeah, so this is the game as it loads. So it's a platformer game. Oh my goodness, the sound is so bad. But as I was saying, right, this is the first finished game that I made. After this, there's a 4 year, essentially nothing happens, in which I decide to make some coding projects, including rooms. And is that it? There's rooms, there's one more, isn't there? I think the other one is not published. Citadel. So these are the two, I call them capsules, basically unfinished, or rather, they're not supposed to be finished. They are just, what do you call it? Sort of demos of like interaction demos. So that's about this, right? So in the 4 years, this is also like just in the last year I sort of put them together. After this 3-month, in the 3-month break, I just or like gap, I guess, I was just researching, right, for the big project. So after that, when I join here, it takes me, I think, so for the first few months, I'm not doing much. I start working on a project, theory-wise, but I essentially don't do anything. Let's say for the 6 months, next 6 months, I don't do anything. So there's just a gap here, right? I'm just enjoying my new like company and everything. After the 6-month gap, I have one game, like the core of the game made. Let's say 50% of the game is made in 2 days. Don't ask me how. I'll go into that some other time. It's called Shields, and it is the demo of it, I guess, is available on itch.io. So I make the core of this, right? Cool. After this, I take, I think, 6 more months. So this will be what? Around December. And this will be like around May, June. So this takes me May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Yeah, 6 more months of nothing. So this is after the friends fall off. So I'm just not able to do anything. Don't have any energy, don't have any motivation to do anything, right? So 6 more months pass. Then the friend leaves the town. So I am in like sort of a fresh slate, new mindset. And this is basically January, right? And if you are not sure, this is May now. Wow, already 5 months have passed. Okay. So around this time, I'm able to not put out, but like work on another game. So this is called Swords. And I have, let's say, I don't know, 70%, not even 70%, like say 60% of the game done. Again, see, 60% means like quantity wise, but this was 50% done, and see, in 6 months I couldn't do anything after that. It's not like I didn't try to, I did do some progress here. I just couldn't like get it past like 55%. So let's say after this it was at 55%. I tried a lot of different methods and everything to get past it. I just couldn't do it. So Swords, we come here, and this is done to like 65% in these, let's say, in after this 6 months. So this is like January, let's say, from January to February, March, April. So around March, I would say. So this is 3 months. I'm able to do this much. And after that, till today, I'm basically taking a long extended break, right? So till May, I've done nothing. So you can see I don't have much of a portfolio to speak, right? And I have not been doing a lot I have been doing nothing for a lot of the past couple of years, right? Especially the past year, I would say. So what's the plan now? Why am I stuck? Well, let's talk about the different approaches I can take, right? This is one of the approaches I was taking last January, which is making a bunch of small games, right? And this is something I've already talked about here in this channel, if you've already been a part of this. But basically, here you have many different small ideas. So basically, every game needs to have a good idea, right? If I don't have a good idea for a game, I might as well just give up the idea of making game designs, because being a game designer, because that is my thing. I want to make interesting games, right? Even if it's small, it needs to be interesting. But the thing is, the idea takes a while to come up with, and that then increases the time in which this needs to be made, right? So each game, even if it's simple, it takes a lot of time to be made. So I thought I would be able to make a game in 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, but it's just not happening, right? So this is something that I've failed to do. Basically, I'm still willing to give it a try, right? So what are the pros of this? Well, the pros is that if I do many small games, it will take less time to make a finished game, right? I'll have more portfolio, I guess, right? Like I'll have more things to show to other people when I say, "Oh, I'm a game designer. What do you do? What have you made?" I can show them something that I have made, right? Um, these should be, in theory, easier to do as well, right? Easier than big projects, and possible to do alone as well, right? And there's a variety here. Like if I make a big game, if I, let's say after 2 years, let's say for example it's 2016, right, and I'm wanting to make an arena shooter and nobody has made an arena shooter yet recently, right? Then suddenly Doom 2016 comes out and everyone is making an arena shooter. Like Ultra Kill comes out, Doom Eternal comes out, a lot of other arena shooters comes out, right? Now if I want to change my mind, I've already sunk in 1 year in that, right? So that's something that I'll have variety, opportunity to easily like stop a project or finish it and go on to a different project, right? The cons is, so far I've provably failed at this, because what happens is, so the reason for this is I get really quickly uninterested if the idea itself is not good, which means that I have to spend more and more time in the idea itself, which this less time is not like contradicting with, right? And if I spend less time on the idea, then I get uninterested in the actual game itself, right? By nature they are also less interesting in as games because they are less in scale, right? They are less. There's part of the thing that I take into account while making them is that I need to be able to finish this in less amount of time, which means that by nature these games will have a very small amount of complexity to them sometimes, which means that they are less interesting than other games, right? Yeah. Okay. What is the next thing? Other than this, what I can do is continue on my big project, right? We'll come back to this. But other thing I can do is start a new big project, right? Now here we have more two options. So this is, let's call it a new project. So we have here two possibilities. One is, let's call this a Valorant clone, Valorant 2. Let's just call it Valorant 2, right? What this is basically is something that I've thought for a very long time, which is take Valorant, make it open source, make it accessible to everyone, make it single player, basically improve it in whatever way I think it should be improved. The problem with this is, the good thing about this is that this idea is already there. I already have a template, so it's going to be pretty straightforward, right? There's no thinking, not much thinking, right? It's just execution after execution. But that's also the problem, that there's not much thinking, so it's not as interesting. Right, this is a game that I want to make because I want to play it. I enjoy playing Valorant, but I don't enjoy playing it in its current state. So I want to make it in a way that I would like to play it. But that's not the same as making an interesting game. So that's where it fails. It's a game that for execution wise would be really good to make. But for my portfolio, it's not something that I want. Again, I use the word portfolio, I just mean like under my belt, the type of game that I want, right? The other is come up with a new idea. Now the issue with this is, the good thing about this is that now that I know, after all my years of experience in making different types of games, right? Now I have a better idea, unfinished games, let me add that. Now I have a much better idea of what Okay. I had to take an unprompted break, but now I'm back, and yeah, we'll continue. So where were we? Right. So for a new project, right? Again, I would have to come up with a new idea. Has to be unique, has to be good, right? Has to be innovative, which is something inherently difficult. Then have to come up with, basically, as I said, right, a template is ready for this one. The idea is there. I'll have to come up with both of those things, right? If it's something new, then of course nothing exists. So there will be another entire section of research, right? And then the execution itself. So this will take a lot of time. Like let's say a year, 2 year, maybe up to 5 years. That's it, right? If we quickly wanna see, so I'm gonna see a few games, right? Let's just start with Fallout 3. So I will look at the AI one, but I'll also look up one article for each of them. Undertale. Then we can see Hollow Knight. Then we can see the original Doom. What else? Stardew Valley. Then is there any? Oh yeah. Animal Well. Okay. And lastly, I wanna see Dwarf Fortress, even though it is still in development. Yeah, so it's still in development, but we'll see what the thing says. So early development 2001 to 2004. It's interesting how is early development. So it started in 2001. So imagine this 2001. You have early development. What does this even do? Internal development team. So you're basically forming the team, forming the assets, getting the funding and stuff like that. Maybe. Concept art, storyline, pre-production, material, fleshing out the game's world. So this is from 4 to 5. Fallout Bible. That's so interesting, isn't it? It does bring a smile to my face whenever I read stuff like this. So the actual production where you have rendering, shading engine. I'm assuming this is where the coding and stuff actually is happening. Polishing and bug fixing for 1 year. Insane. It's still released in a broken state, by the way, but okay. I mean, it's Bethesda. But so we can say from 2001 to 2008. If we are being generous, we can say from 4 to 8. So around, if you take the longer one, it's 7 years. If you take the shorter one, it's around 3 to 4 years. Yeah. So you have 2001 to 2008 or 2003 to 2008. So you have around 5 to 7 years, let's say. And this is a game with a whole team, right? But also much bigger scale. Now, Undertale, 6 years of planning. So this released on 2015 and idea on 2010. Yeah, again, this is a game which already had a lot of this game is mostly just writing, coming up with some boss designs and programming, right? And this took what, 6 years? So 2010 to 2015, right? This is over 6 years when this would imply 5 years, right? 2010 to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It would imply 5 years. But anyways, interesting. This is interesting. Visual design, audio design. So he's a The creator. This is a solo game. Last one was a team. This is a solo game. The creator is a music composer. Story changes, interesting. Then Hollow Knight. This is another team. Team Cherry, right? So we start at 2014 to 15. So this is the base core of the game essentially. Alpha phase started in this much, and already you must have pre-release phase 4 to 5 years. Okay, similar, right? Similar. Development of Doom. Development in 1992 and finished by 1993. Now this is a much simpler game as well, right? But this is only surface level because I would say Wolfenstein 3D is also part of its development, Doom's development, because this is where it, yeah, so this is where it actually began, right? This is where you have the basis of it, and then this is just polishing on this, right? Stardew Valley, this is I think 6 or 7 years, I think. 2012. He officially began developing in 2013. And where is the actual release? Official release is 2016. So we got what? 16, right? So this is what, 3 years? Around 3 to 4 years. 2.75 years. That's funny. That's a funny way of putting it. Yeah. Okay. Again, I would say that conceptualizing before it doesn't officially get the stamp, but it is where for me it would start. Believe again, solo developed. So Nights and Weekends passion project in 2017. Survival horror games and transferred to different genre. It's insane. This guy's first release. I wanna see. So it starts in 2017. When did it release? It doesn't say, right? But around 2022. So we can say that at least 5 years, right? Okay. And this is a continual development 33 years. So this is just something that, yeah. It's just a different sort of a game. It's not even comparable to, these are the two brothers, I believe, who make this, right? So again, this is sort of the timeline, 5 years approximately. I would say 1 or 2 years I'll have a demo ready, but who knows. But this is a sort of timeline we're looking for this, right? So now I want to talk about this, because this is, so if I work on a new project, right, these two will be similar, right? The only thing that might be different is I'll plan this game out to be a bit more easier than this, but I do want to talk about the big project, right, which I've been sort of alluding to. So this project in itself has 3 mini projects. First of all of these will require their own set of research done, and I was only doing research for one of them. My plan was to sort of slice them into half, so half of each, and then combine them into a small demo and release this by the end of 1 or 2 years. This was my plan. Done this, started, right? And still a lot to learn here. Right? I've done a little bit of research on all of these, right? This is a very fleshed out project, one of the most complicated projects that I've ever thought of, right? I'm really proud of the project's idea itself, which I'm not sharing right now because I want it to be a surprise. But that's also one more thing, right? Part of the thing I feel might be difficult for me is not sharing the development of this with many people, right? Only a few people I know who are friends with me actually know what the game is or what the development is about, what the game is about, right? And when you think of that, it makes it hard to bounce off ideas. It makes it hard to be excited for it until it's close to something finished, right? When you're doing devlogs and stuff like that, what happens is you can show it to people, you can get excited about it, stuff like that, right? But I don't have that option really because I'm deliberately keeping it to myself, right? I don't want to, because I feel like dev updates are sort of a crutch where I will do them and think that I've done work where I've not, right? So I want the progress of the work actually to show something. So with this, I have three ways to go, right? One of the things that I sort of settled on was working on this in the background as I work on small projects in the meantime. So when I get bored from this, I switch on to a small project, then I come back to this, or I switch on to a smaller project, then I come back to this. Basically, this cycle of switching from one project to the other. As you can probably tell by the way I'm talking, the time is scaring me a lot because it is in years and it feels like I don't have that much time. And recently I was just not in any motivation to work at all. I had just given up. So this is a bit of an improvement, you know. As I said, I want to get my life in order, right? Have I worked on that? No, because what was my plans for yesterday? Well, yesterday I wanted to eat food, take my meds, done. Then play a little bit of Valorant, just a little bit. Instead of ended up playing like hours. So this did not go as planned. Then I wanted to record this video that I'm recording right now. Forgot. Or rather got too late. So I thought, okay, I'll sleep early. I did go to bed early, but I wasn't able to sleep till 4 a.m. So now, today, I woke up at 2 p.m. I replied to some students. I ate some food, took my meds, and now I'm recording this video. So everything is already late, and it feels like with every passing minute that I'm wasting, I am burning time, and that is scary. And I'm trying to compensate by doing these small projects, right? So that I have something to show for it. But it feels like instead this is wasting more time, which I could have been spending in the big project. So, and again, part of it is my ego as well, right? Where should I just give up trying to be innovative and just make some small recognizable games to begin with? Should I stop trying to make this a black box and be more transparent to people about it as I work on it? There's so many things that I need to still iron out. But for now, I think I do want to start on this. I do want some sort of a, not dev diary, but working on, let's say character design or something like that. Like things that are not super spoilery, I guess, to the general public that I can show on camera. I didn't talk about this. I think I have a video recorded, but I haven't uploaded it, which is I have a new setup where I can use my phone's camera as a webcam. So I'm thinking of buying a stand or something like a tripod or something, and then using that to, like instead of using the Paint website, I can use pen and paper because that's just more easy or easier, I guess, to use, right? in a more personal note, I got back into dating apps. I changed my location from my actual location to like some other foreign country just to see like how people are there, and it's so much better. I already found like 3 4 people who play video games, or who are like down to go on dates that are pertaining to video games in some way. And I'm like, it should be so much easier to date in a different country just because of that. Like there are so many other things that are better. Like it feels like people are more, at least in the profile, they're putting more of their personality. I feel like I can talk to them, like I can start a conversation about something, right? It feels nice. It felt fresh to see new faces and new sort of profiles where people are talking about something new, right? Instead of the usual stuff that I'm used to see here. So that was nice. I'm not matching with anyone. I'm just like looking at the profiles. But that was nice. So that is one thing I guess in a way I'm working on as well. On 10th May, I have to go home and I'll be back on 23rd May. So that will be a black timeline basically. I won't be posting anything, I won't be doing anything. I won't be working either. So we'll see how that goes. After I come back, what will I do? There's also a chance that I might not come back at all, or rather come back in the place. Like I will record, but like I might quit my job is what I'm trying to say, because of some other stuff. Nothing bad or anything. It's not like I'm doing this job to sustain myself anyways. There's another whole option that I've not even like touched on here, which is, as I mentioned previously, applying for masters in a foreign country or applying for a job in a foreign country, right? Both of these are options that I have not considered, which are things I want to consider or start considering, because India is just not a nice place to live in general. Very lonely place it can get. But yeah, this is it, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I have anything else to add to this, but as you can probably tell, I don't know if you can tell or can't tell, but things have been difficult. I've been trying to like slither my way out of it. I have some good friends who have been keeping me up in my motivation, so thanks for them. Thanks to them. Yeah. I think that's it, and I'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye bye. And hope you're doing good.